Bartok Concerto for Orchestra is full of great licks for the trumpet, and they appear on a lot of auditions. The first one that's often asked is the first entrance that we have at the beginning of the piece. And it's a little bit different for us. It's a trumpet trio that's very legato in length of note, but very secure in the articulation. It's a little hard to make it sound right, and that's why it's on auditions. It has to do with getting that feel of rhythm. What can be a bit confusing is the melody comes in before the trumpet comes in as a flute solo. And the flute is always encouraged to play with an incredible rubato. Then there's a couple of bars of strings and the trumpets come in, and we have to play in a much more measured rhythm. Now the printed rhythm is 4/16 and a half with the last 16th tied over. It's hard to make this not sound triplety, so we have to make it sound as much like 16ths as possible. Oftentimes there's a firmness placed on the first 16th as well, which shouldn't affect the rhythm, but only affects the presence of the first note. That's one of the complications. Have a listen. So you hear that it goes da 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 da, dee da da da. So those 4/16ths are exactly in rhythm. You want to avoid having them sound like a triplet. There's a great trick to practicing this, and I want to share that with you right now. You'll take the tie out, and then you put the tie back in. So we're actually going to make a little tape loop and do each bar twice, once without the tie and once with. You hear how they're the same. And so as you're playing with the tie in performance, you want to always hear that as if there's no 16th tie there. So you're actually going to be thinking da 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 da, dee da 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 do. And that's going to keep those 16ths in place. That's one of the first tricks. One thing that you might also want to do is think of these in slightly two-bar phrases. You don't want to show this a lot, but instead of having it be one bar, one bar, one bar, just a little bit of direction between the first and the second bar, and between the third and the fourth. See if you can pick up on that. It's very subtle. So you heard how that works. There's a little taper at the end of the second bar that isn't there at the end of the first. It gives it a little better propulsion. If you're going to do that in the orchestra, you need to talk to the second and third trumpets and tell them that you're doing that so that they can match you. I like doing it for auditions for sure, because it just makes it sound a little bit more connected and a little bit more musical. The same pattern continues on, and then we have eighth notes with a crescendo, and then we hold the E's for a while. I like to put a breath between the half note and the long note, and a lot of orchestras actually do that. Usually, however, if you're playing it in the orchestra, the trombones, who only come in at the very last, won't want to put a break there. So you're going to have to talk to them about that and tell them that's what you want to do, and I'm sure they'll follow you. The next question is how much crescendo, because Bartok doesn't give us an arrival point. He just puts crescendo, hold for a bar, diminuendo. He doesn't tell us if we're getting from pianissimo to mezzo piano or forte or where are we going. where we're going. I think it's a healthy crescendo. I think it's probably up to between mezzo piano and mezzo forte. The sound shouldn't become aggressive, but it should really show that there's a crescendo there. So you could hear that crescendo and then the little space on the rearticulation of the low E. Once again, I'm going to encourage you to play this excerpt in tune. That low E can start to get very high, so we need to make sure that we use a left thumb and get that in the right place, because the chord that comes right there is an open chord. The second trumpet has a low B. It's going to be very hard to tune if that E isn't in the right place. So make sure you get your tuner or a drone out and set that E up to be in the right place. Once again, this isn't a particularly complicated excerpt, but it's one with the right amount of care can sound very impressive. It can show control and rhythmic awareness and the kind of discipline in your preparation that's going to make the people on the committee want you as a colleague. What do we want to do? We want to show rhythm, show a little phrasing, play in tune, and most of this excerpt takes care of itself.